What if I told you that the voice in your head isn't just your present thoughts, but echoes from your future self? A self that has already seen what you're capable of. A version of you that has walked through fire and come out whole. And right now is trying to reach back through time, not to change your destiny, but to remind you of who you were always meant to be. The future isn't some distant shore waiting for you to arrive. It's already there, forming its tides, moving its winds, shaping your path in ways you cannot yet comprehend. You've probably felt it before. Those moments where you made a decision that felt like instinct, but somehow it led you exactly where you needed to be. Not luck, not chance, something deeper. What if that was your future self pulling strings behind the curtain? Time, as we experience it, is linear, but consciousness doesn't have to be. In dreams, in déjà vu, in sudden clarity, we sometimes slip out of the script, and in those moments, we catch glimpses of something bigger, like a thread tugging at us from the other end of the timeline. Your future self isn't just a possibility, it's a presence, a version of you that has already overcome what you're struggling with now. It's you standing on the mountain you're still climbing. And every time you ignore your intuition, every time you silence that quiet knowing, you're turning down a call from the one person who knows how to get you to where you're meant to be. You may think of your future as something random, yet it is being sculpted in this very moment, by the choices you make, yes, but also by the silent wisdom reaching backward, urging you to choose better, move wiser, act braver. The whispers you sometimes hear, the feelings that won't go away, that's not anxiety, that's not overthinking. That might just be you, already whole, trying to remind you not to settle for less than what you came here for. You're not going to get a phone call from your future self. No voice will boom from the clouds, but the message still comes, just not in the way you expect. The future doesn't speak in words, it speaks in signs. That repeated number you keep seeing, that book you stumbled upon, that conversation you overheard that hit you in the chest like it was meant only for you. It's easy to write these things off as coincidence, but when they begin to stack, when they start arriving in patterns, you need to start asking better questions. Synchronicity isn't randomness, it's recognition. It's the universe, and more specifically, your higher self, trying to bring you back into alignment, back onto the track you were always meant to walk. And here's the thing, the signs won't always be what you want to see. Sometimes, the message comes through heartbreak, through failure, through being forced to stop, turn around, and finally listen. That painful chapter you went through might have been orchestrated not by bad luck, but by a wiser version of you, one that knew you needed to let go of the false version of yourself before you could become the real one. Your future self doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your evolution. And if it has to shake your world to do that, it will. When you start paying attention to synchronicity, you'll notice that the world becomes strangely responsive, like it's alive. That's not delusion, that's awareness. Because the moment you begin to recognize the messages, you also begin to participate in the conversation. The reason most people never hear from their future self isn't because it's not speaking. It's because they've drowned it out. We live in a world that prizes noise over nuance. You're bombarded with distractions, notifications, opinions, deadlines, desires that aren't even yours. Your mind becomes a crowded room, and your future self is the quiet one in the corner, still speaking, but lost in the chaos. Most people are so tuned into the outer world that they've forgotten how to listen to the inner one, They wait for a sign, but never make space to receive it. They ask for guidance, but never silence their doubt long enough to hear the reply. And that's the tragedy, because the guidance was always there. Your future self isn't some mystical figure hiding in a dream. It's the version of you that already walked the path. It knows every obstacle you'll face and how to overcome them. But it can't reach you through fear. It can't reach you through comparison. And it definitely can't reach you through the endless scrolling and self-doubt that's been pumped into your brain since the moment you were born. To hear the voice of your future self, you have to unlearn everything that taught you to ignore it. You have to sit with yourself, not your screen. You have to ask hard questions and wait for honest answers. And most importantly, you have to trust those answers when they come, even when they challenge everything you currently believe. Because the moment you start listening to your future self, the future changes. The message from your future self is rarely a loud command or a blinding vision. It's something much more subtle, and yet far more profound. It's a whisper in the silence, a pull in your gut, a recurring thought that refuses to be ignored, and it's almost always delivered in the language of feeling. Your future self is trying to tell you, you already know the way, you just don't trust it yet. Deep down, you've glimpsed the life you're meant to live. In those quiet moments, just before sleep, during a long walk, after a moment of stillness, you've seen flashes of the person you could be. Not the version of you that's perfect or untouchable, but the version of you that is fully alive. That's the you that no longer acts out of fear, but out of alignment. That's the you who doesn't settle, doesn't chase, and doesn't shrink. That's the you who already knows. But to hear this guidance, you have to stop identifying with your wounds. You have to stop asking the past for permission to become something new. The future self doesn't speak in the language of your pain. It speaks in the language of your potential. It isn't concerned with the version of you that was afraid to be seen. It's trying to show you the version that is willing to stand in full light. It's not telling you to become someone different. It's trying to remind you of who you were before the world told you who to be. This isn't just spiritual poetry. It's an urgent reminder. Your future self is already living the consequences of the decisions you're making today. If you listen, you'll feel it nudging you toward better choices, higher paths, and the kind of inner peace that can't be shaken by outside chaos. You don't need to become more spiritual, more enlightened, or more worthy to receive messages from your future self. You only need to become more quiet. Most people are drowning in noise. Constant scrolling, endless opinions, inner chatter that never stops. But guidance doesn't scream over chaos. It arrives in stillness. Start by creating space. Go for walks without your phone. Sit in silence for 10 minutes a day. Journal without editing yourself. Ask questions without demanding immediate answers. These aren't empty rituals. They're invitations for your future self to step forward. And when you do receive a message, however subtle, treat it with reverence. Don't brush it off as a coincidence. Don't dismiss it as imagination. Your intuition is the translation device between you and your future. It's how you pull the unseen into the seen, and the more you act on it, the louder it gets. Here's the paradox. Your future self is waiting for you, but it also needs you to move first. It's not going to hand you the entire map, because growth doesn't work like that, but it will give you the next step. And when you take that, the next one becomes visible. It's like walking through fog with a lantern. You won't see the end of the path until you start walking. You may doubt, you may feel foolish, but if you keep showing up, if you keep trusting the smallest signs, if you stop ignoring your inner pulls, you'll look back one day and realize you were being led the entire time. You were never alone in this. You were simply learning to hear yourself again. Most people imagine divine communication as something mystical, reserved only for the spiritually elite. But the truth is, your future self has already been reaching out to you. The signs are subtle, and they rarely come as burning bushes or booming voices. Instead, they arrive through quiet consistencies, emotional shifts, and inner knowings that feel too specific to ignore. One of the first signs is the sudden urge to break patterns. Maybe you've tolerated something for years, a toxic relationship, a soul-draining job, a way of thinking that keeps you small. Then one day, without warning, you feel disgusted by it. You can't go back to the way things were. That's not just frustration. That's your future self telling you, we've outgrown this. It's your higher timeline knocking on your door. Another sign is an unexpected clarity about your boundaries. You start saying no more easily. You no longer explain yourself the way you used to. People from your past might accuse you of changing, but they're right. You are. Because your future self isn't interested in playing roles to keep others comfortable. It's interested in alignment, truth, and freedom. And the moment you begin to live like that, you've already made contact. You'll also notice synchronicities appearing, those uncanny moments where the right message, person, or opportunity shows up exactly when needed. These aren't accidents. They're echoes of a life that's trying to align with you. Your future self doesn't just send you feelings. It rearranges reality in your favor when you're open to receiving. You may feel a pull towards solitude, not because you're lonely, but because you're being recalibrated. Silence becomes magnetic. Certain crowds feel too loud. Certain environments feel energetically wrong. That's your spirit adjusting to the frequency of the person you're becoming. Your future self exists on a higher wavelength, and to access it, you have to elevate too. Perhaps most powerfully, you'll begin to feel a sense of familiarity with a life you haven't lived yet. A strange comfort with possibilities you haven't logically earned. That's the soul's memory, your future self whispering, yes, this is where we're going. These aren't random experiences. They're the evidence of connection. If you felt any of these things, you're not crazy. You're aligned. The contact has already begun. Now, it's just about continuing the conversation. You're not imagining it. That pull inside you, the one that calls you to something more, something deeper, something real, isn't fantasy. It's memory. It's your future self, already existing on a higher timeline, reaching back to guide you forward. And every moment you choose to listen, every time you follow the whisper over the noise, you collapse the distance between who you are and who you're meant to be. Your future self is not waiting for permission. It doesn't care about your excuses, your fears, or the stories you've told yourself to stay small. It only wants one thing, for you to remember. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember what you came here to do. And most of all, remember that the life you're dreaming of is not some distant fantasy. It's a reality already living within you, asking to be unlocked. So if you've been looking for a sign, this is it. Now the question is, will you answer?